Howdy, everybody. Steve here, KM9G. Today, we're going to talk about how to get your kids interested in ham radio by talking about how I got my kids interested in ham radio. And we also have a giveaway coming up at the end of the show that we are going to give these radios away, which is part of what we're talking about today. I really got to stop doing all that rhyming stuff. So, what I did in order to get my kids interested in ham radio was I actually, this is going to come as a shock to some people, I actually spent time with my kids doing things. And those things were radio related because ham radio was my hobby. One of the things that I did to get them really interested early on has to do with these FRS radios that Retevis sent in. Not, it wasn't these specific FRS radios, it was actually a couple of Motorola's, and they were probably just cheap knockoffs because I got them at Walmart in the first place. Um, but we went out camping. Kids like to go camping. Kids like to do anything that is an actual, activity. Kids love to be engaged in some kind of activity, some kind of interesting thing. So I took them out to a local campsite. We had been a couple of times. The kids had brought their bikes. It was fun. And they were just riding around the campsite, and I had to be out there with them because, protective parent kind of thing, doing my job as a dad, right? And what I wound up doing was saying, if you take these radios and find out where the perimeter is of where you start to lose communications, you guys can ride your bikes anywhere inside of that perimeter, and I don't have to be around. I'll have my radio on, you'll have your radios on, and we can communicate that way. If you guys need help, I can come help. If you guys don't need help, you can have fun. And it was actually really interesting because if you think about how that works, like what's the first question? Well, how far do these radios work? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. So, key up the radio and say hi. And okay, there's your first introduction to radio. So they keyed up the radios, they said hi. I said, okay, now go across the campsite to the other side, go down to that fifth trailer down there. And they went down to the fifth trailer and they keyed up and they said hi. And I said, I heard you loud and clear. We can go this far? Yes. Okay. How much farther can we go? And then they keep going and they keep going and they keep going and they get to go a little bit farther. So let's talk about these radios real quick because that's part of the reason why we're here. And I'm going to make them bigger on the screen than me because you want to see the screen. Get my keyboard out of the way and we'll do our knife check so that we can hear from everybody in the comments. And if you guys have a story about how you did how you got your kids interested in ham radio, or how you as a kid yourself got interested in ham radio, please share it in the chat for other people who watch this later on Team Replay or who are watching now to be able to figure it out. So a single unit is pretty small in the box because, it's an FRS radio. There's not a whole lot to it in the first place. But what do we get in the box? We get our lovely instruction manual. Oh, I've got two of these to give away. I thought it was 1 unit per box. It's 2 units in each box. That's even better. So these come with a little belt clip. So your kids can have all their high fashion accessories. It comes with external replaceable batteries. These don't appear to be waterproof by the design of the battery and all the different compartments and whatnot. But that's okay because they're just FRS radios, right? And then as far as charging goes, there's a USB wall wart and it's got a little splitter on it. Oh, that's awesome. It has a USB-A plug on one end, and then it splits out to two USB-C plugs so that you can charge the radio. So where do we plug it in? On the side. How do I even open that up? I need a kid to help me open this up. You know how things are. Brian, thank you very much for the 5 ham radio channel gifted memberships. I appreciate that. And I'm having more trouble with this because I'm trying to live stream while I'm doing this. But let's get out the appropriate tool to do this because, what kid doesn't carry a pocket knife with them, right? Oh, that's pretty cool. On the side, it has a microphone and headphone jack. Let me grab a microphone set from this. I've got one sitting back here from the M17 stream we did the other day and see if it's actually K connector compatible. My high quality super sporty Baofeng mic. And I closed the thing again. These will get worn in or they will get ripped off and forgotten about. Oh, it is K connector compatible. We're gonna have to test that out. That's pretty sweet. So there's already like the next birthday present. He's getting another set of microphones to go with it. They've got lanyards on them. Let's get these two plugged in here and get this box out of the way and all of the junk out of the way. And one of the reasons why I chose the FRS radios to start out with is because they are, relatively foolproof, except for me trying to get the thing open on the side. Let's turn that on. Nice. Power on.
On one,
Power on one. So they're on channel one.
two, three, four, five, six, seven, six, seven, six,
Hmm. That says what you think it says.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16,
I've got to get
17,
back to one.
18, 19, 20, 21, 22,
22 channels. 22 channels to choose from. And they are close, so you can see that when you PTT on one, it lights up the other one green. Oh, that's weird. I guess that's a selectable color. Because this one lights up red when you push it. This one lights up. Oh, we're gonna have to figure out that. Why does it do that? Because I think the color switched. Yeah, the color switched. That's pretty cool. I don't know why the colors switched. Let's see. We've got KA2 AUB's World. Hi, my name is KA2 AUB. I'm an amateur operator. I got my first taste from my father when he studied for his novice. I was completely hooked when I went to my first jamboree on the air as a scout. That's awesome. Well, so Michael, red for transmit. I hear you, but so like that's red and that one's green. Is that what it is? Yeah. So it's red for transmit. I thought that it was switching. I thought it was green for transmit and red for receive, and then I thought it was just whatever color it wanted to be. But I think you nailed it. Red for transmit, red for receive. Red for transmit, green for receive. Yes. Awesome. So these are like pocket size too. I mean, they're not too small that you can't hold them because that's one of the things that they've sort of learned over the years is that if you start making stuff too small and people can't hold it, then people don't want to use it anymore. And KA2AUB's world is saying screeching is a feedback. That is absolutely correct. That's not something it's supposed to do. It's the fact that they're too close to each other, and this one is transmitting and receiving itself over this one, and then it's retransmitting over and over and over again. So that is pretty cool. They have a built-in fixed antenna because that is a requirement of the FRS radios, and that's why they do those things. Come on. These batteries are not going to fall out easily. Oh, there's a release knob on the bottom. There we go. So there's a little release lever there. So the batteries won't fall out on you accidentally. You have to do it on purpose. And again, how far will these go? And then hopefully the questions will come up as to, why don't they go farther? Why can't I go farther? How far can I go if we do something better? And then the upgrade path from that would obviously be a GMRS radio because they're interoperable on the lower GMRS channels overlap with the FRS channels. So you can also do that as a family license. And so the kids don't have to take any tests. Do not, in my mind, do not force your kids to take the test. A lot of people approach this backwards. They like, oh, I want to get into ham radio. Kid, go study and take a test. Come back to me when you're done studying and you've passed the test. You haven't you haven't excited them. You haven't engaged them in the fun. You haven't given them a killer reason in order to go do that thing other than because my dad said so or because my mom said so. And kids spend enough time in school, they spend enough time taking tests. They're smart, they'll figure it out when it's time to figure it out. So the next thing that I did after that was I had my kids help me build a 20-meter dipole. And we just built it out of leftover electrical wire and cut up some coax and connected the coax to it and then connected it to a antenna analyzer outside and shrunk it down and tried to figure out, you know, why is it resonant on this frequency at this reason? What do you have to do and take care of that? So, after we got that done, then we had to go out and do Parks on the Air. And all of these things are, cherished memories that my kids and I have. Remember that time when we did that thing? And if you look back in my back catalog on my channel, you'll see a bunch of those videos where we did those things. Another thing that I did was I got them interested in soldering by going on to Etsy and getting some solder kits that are more kid friendly. And I've got daughters, so I got, the headbands with the kitten ears on them, and then they lit up and they changed colors depending on, what you pushed and whatnot. And they were really interesting. Todd's going to do POTA activation, KP4K toads on Sunday. Awesome. And Randy's asking how Leah is doing. Leah is one of my kids that got her ham license. She is actually currently in Iowa and she got married. And if you take a look at my Living for a Living, at Living for a Living YouTube channel, you will be able to see the wedding because I filmed it. And they had a photographer, so I just filmed it from my perspective. And then Mike, N2MAK, is saying, my oldest son, 11 years old at the time, got interested in ham radio after. It was his idea to take our club's online class and test. It wasn't my idea, but I supported him. POTA got him to get his general. So that is pretty cool. So the upgrade to general, the reason for that was actually because of POTA. That's why my kids wanted to do that. And what happened for me was I took my kids out and we started doing the ham radio activations, and they were like, well, why am I putting your call sign down in the log? You're the only one getting credit for all of this. Well, it's because you don't have your own call sign. You have to get your own call sign. Then you have to get your call sign upgraded and so on. So, there's a little bit of a drive there to get better and better. And it just like, you set the hook and you reel it in. John, I'm not old enough to have kids that are married. John, I'm a grandfather. I have two granddaughters also. Brian's saying that I always set up my POTA station where people are and have POTA handouts ready to share. I almost always get young people wanting to check out what I'm doing. Brian, you can hand them the microphone and they can use your call sign if they don't have mic fright. That's something that some people have and some people don't have. And if they don't have it, hand them the mic and let them have at it. And I try to make it as fun as I can. If you watch my daughter call CQ at a POTA park, it's usually something ridiculous and interesting and off the wall because, as you know, when you call CQ, you can't just say CQKM9G and not say anything else. Somebody's spinning the dial, they're not even going to hear it. If they're looking at their waterfall, that little quick blip, they're not even going to know what it is. So you have to fill the space with something to say. And so she would say something like, CQ Parks on the Air. I'm sitting out here enjoying the weather with my best friend, and say her best friend's name. And we drove here by ourselves, and we got stuck in the mud on the side of the road on the way over here. And whatever, just something interesting. So when you're tuning by, there's some happiness, some excitement, and she did a really good job. So Ham DeLorean says, I'm curious how you got all your kids to get over mic fright. So the way I got my kids to get over mic fright was my kids are kind of enthusiastic and outgoing in the first place. And I just handed them the microphone and said, here you go. Didn't really have them, didn't really give them the opportunity to not be on the air. Didn't really give them the opportunity to have mic fright. I just said, here's the microphone and say this. And they did. So done. So that's how I got my kids over mic fright. What else? Is there anything else in the chat here? Ham DeLorean is saying field day, get on the air stations work great too. Best way to get interest is to get them in front of the radios and on the air with another ham helping. Exactly. I actually think that is something that the ham test should do. I think they should set up a radio station at the club, and part of the test should be that you have to actually make a QSO. So it's a no fail scenario, but it's also like now you know what you're doing. Now you know how to do it. So get out there and do it. And so that my idea would be to have a 2 meter radio, 2 rooms away with a simple antenna and a 2 meter radio in the test center, and just go over and pick it up and complete the exchange. And you just write the exchange on a piece of paper and sit it down in front of the station and go. So that's my idea, but you know how hard it is to get the test changed. Liberty Cave says he's a great grandpa. Awesome. I think you would make a great grandpa. Frank says, I got introduced to radio by way of scanners, actually, used it for rail fanning and heard something called ham radio and went to the library, if you remember those, and researched what it was. Awesome. I was kind of always interested in radio from a very young age, more so because I actually wanted to be like a on air personality, which is kind of what we're doing here. So let's talk about this giveaway. I've got two of these to give away now. I only thought there was going to be one, but I thought there was going to be one giveaway. So now we've got to do the giveaway twice. And since Redivus is the one that is giving these away, I'm going to use Redivus as the keyword for the drawing. So there it is. And if you're not typing in Redivus to win, then type in another story about how you got interested or how you got your kids interested if you did. And Darren is saying that you need to do an on-air QSO for the Australian for a practical assessment. That is awesome. I'd love to see more high school science teachers get licensed and have the radio set up in the classrooms. The ARRL has a program for that called the Teachers Institute. And I believe that once they are complete, they actually get a station, but I could be wrong. The person to talk to is K5ATA, Steve Goodgame at the ARRL. And there is also a big carrot you can dangle in front of your your principal at the school because there's like $500,000 in scholarships available to kids that get into radio programs. So definitely something to talk to your school about. I believe that the class is free to get the teachers on the air and get them licensed and get them, the knowledge on how to teach the kids how to do it. But I'm not 100% sure. Again, Steve Goodgame is the one to talk to about that. John, thank you. We have 120 people watching, so we're going to let it get up to, I guess, 50 before we hit the draw button. Jeff says audio and stereo building got me into electronics, and I just progressed into ham and technology. Yep, I was interested in computers at an early age. I'm not 100% sure why. We got this catalog in the mail. It was from a company called Damark, Damark, and they sold a very weird amount of stuff. Like this was like most of the time you'd get a catalog and it was for like something very specific, but Damark sold everything. So you could get a blender or a computer or a typewriter or a television, and that was just very odd. And I kept seeing all the computers in there, and then a friend of mine showed me his computer and showed me, the different games that you could play and how difficult it was to get it set up, and then you can automate it. I started getting computer magazines and reading the little, batch file recipes in the back or basic programs in the back, and it just took off from there. So turned it into a career. I was actually sitting in my house going, I wonder what I'm going to do when I grow up. Sitting at my desk playing on the computer. I wonder what I'm going to do when I grow up. And then it kind of dawned on me, maybe I should just do computers. Repeat this. One more entry to go. Start a CODA program. Kids on the air. Run like CODA activations, but the kids are the activators. That's a great idea, Hamdalorian. All right, we have 50 entries. Let me hit that button. Poof. And who gets it? Cypher 2016. Cypher, I'm going to need you to reach out to me at my email address, temporarilyoffline@gmail.com, and I will get your address info and get it sent out to you. Let's do draw again for the second set. John Gendron. Awesome, John. I will reach out to you and get these in the mail to you as well. Perfect. So Rob is saying there already is a Kids on the Air program, and to Google it. Excellent. Um, the other thing that the ARL is doing, and they did this at Dayton Hand Mention, was they had a kids scavenger hunt, and they also did a parachute mobile jump. Um, if your school has a STEM program with a ham related, ham aware, ham savvy teacher, doesn't even have to be a ham, it just has to be somebody who knows what the program is. You can actually get on the listing to start working your way down the line to be the ISS contact, because the ISS contacts the schools. And John just did this recently, and I was able to help them out by restreaming it on my channel to get some more awareness out. And excellent. Liberty's going to be wearing his car shirt tomorrow at CPAC. And then there is also Youth on the Air Camp. Yoda Region 2 puts on a North America, South America. They put on an Americas program for Youth on the Air. And they've been doing that for about 4 years now. And I took my kids to that. Um, one of them went twice, and one of them went once. And the first time there was a Brian, we did sell some car shirts a while back. We are getting ready to sell them again, but getting ready and doing are two different things. So we have to get better at getting ready so we can stop getting ready and start getting done. George says, I was interested in the early 90s with radio, got a CB because it was free. Code requirements deterred me from going for the ham license. Fast forward 30 years and I got my technician license. Excellent. So let's look up the Yoda program. And I will share with you some of the information about this program. And we're going to have the Yoda Kids on the Coffee and Ham Radio stream coming up here soon. So you'll actually be able to hear from the campers what their perspective was. So Halifax 2024, that's awesome. Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada at Mount St. Vincent University, July 7th through the 12th, 2024. And it's probably already sold out. How much does it cost? What language will be used? Where will you stay? Check out the informational flyer about the camp by clicking the button below. So 2024 camp brochure in English. And let's see if you guys can see that. You guys can see that. Awesome. Any amateur radio operator between the ages of 15 to 25 that resides in North, Central, or South America, space is limited to 50 campers. Cost is $100 per camper, plus transportation to and from Halifax. It includes meals, lodging, admission fees, camp t-shirt, and local transportation for camp activities. And let's see what else we have. 4 campers per apartment with 4 single bedrooms and 2 shared bathrooms. Apartments are separated by gender and age group unless staying with an accompanying parent. Meals. All meals from Sunday evening through Friday lunch will be provided. So they do a kickoff dinner when you first get there, and then they do a go home lunch on the way out the door. Alcohol is not allowed during the camp trip, so keep your kids sober. And what are some of the programs that there are? They did an ISS contact at the camp. They did a build a couple of kits. They did a build a radio direction finding kit. They did a build a Morse code key kit. They did a obviously they did a antenna build, and we helped them out with providing them the antenna winders, and the kids made a nice dipole, I believe it was. Trying to find a list of activities. And one of the cool things that they do with the camps is this year's camp kids can be next year's camp counselors. And the kids are definitely involved. And most of the program is put on by the kids. So the group that works on it, um, tries to teach the kids some leadership skills as well, which is pretty awesome. There we go. How can I start a school amateur radio club? And let me grab this link and drop it in the chat real quick. There we go. Jody is correct. The $100 is definitely not covering all of the non-transport costs. They must have had some great fundraising. They do have some amazing fundraising, but the $100 is really just to have some skin in the game because if it was 100% free and something popped up, who cares? And what it does is, um, if something pops up, who cares? Meaning they wouldn't show up to the camp, and then that seat that was reserved for them is now unoccupied and could have gone to somebody who would have shown up. So they definitely do that. And they do have scholarships as well. Yep. Todd, I'm actually using the Pocket 3. That is this camera right here. Todd says that he got the Pocket 3 before heading to Puerto Rico. It's a great camera. I love it so far. Halifax is way up north. They have done it in Westchester, Ohio, at the Voice of America Radio Museum 2 years in a row, and then I think they did it in Canada before, and they're doing it in Halifax now. So there you go. I just wanted to share with you how I got my kids excited. So FRS radios and in the campground, ride your bikes as far as the radio signal allows you to ride, and then a couple of solder kits, and then Youth on the Air camp, and building stuff with dad, and going out and doing Parks on the Air activations. And give away a couple of radios today. Hopefully, they will make their way into some kids' hands. There are two in each box, so if it's like you and one kid, that's great. But if you need more, then there is a link in the description down below to get you some more radios. And if you didn't win, then there's also a link in the description down below to get you some more radios. So just wanted to drop by and share that information with y'all. See what happens when you don't edit. All these little quirks are just dropped right in. So anyway, thanks for being awesome. I'll see you in the next one.